One person has been killed and over 590 people have been injured in the clashes that have erupted in Kyrgyzstan following the results of the recently concluded parliamentary polls. Protesters have launched allegations of vote rigging in these elections. Now, opposition groups in Kyrgyzstan said they had seized power in the country after taking control of the government buildings in the capital during these protests. Hundreds clashed with police in Kyrgyzstan's capital city of Bishkek on Monday to demonstrate against the election results. Joining us on this broadcast is Julia Chapman, who joins us from Moscow. Julia, we are seeing these visuals coming out of Bishkek, and the situation seems really tense on the ground. What can you tell us? What's the latest situation on the ground?
Well, in the last few minutes, the Central Election Commission of Kyrgyzstan has declared that the results of the parliamentary elections on Sunday are invalid. So this is a major concession now to the protesters who have been gathering over the past 24 hours calling for a re-election, because they say that that vote should not have had the result that it did. They say that there were allegations of vote rigging and voter intimidation ahead of that parliamentary election on Sunday. That's why they've taken to the streets in such big numbers. But now the election officials in Kyrgyzstan are saying that there will be a rerun of that vote. And this comes after serious violence overnight, huge clashes in the capital Bishkek, where protesters were cleared with tear gas and were shot at with metallic projectiles, according to some reports from the ground. At least one person has been killed, as you said, and hundreds more have been injured. The government says 120 people have been taken to hospital. Protesters have taken over the main government building in the capital Bishkek. They say they've also freed the former president, Almazbek Atambayev, and now there are huge questions as to who is really in charge in the country right now.
Right. The protests turned violent, and the protesters, demonstrators even stormed the parliament building of the country, seizing control of it. Now, they allege vote rigging by President Jeenbekov, who they say is a pro-Russian leader, a Russian ally, and he's not the first one to face protests recently, isn't it? We all know what's happening in Belarus with Lukashenko. That's also a former Soviet country, isn't it? But you were mentioning about President Jeenbekov. Is he still in power in Kyrgyzstan at the moment?
Well, he seems to think that he is, and he issued a video statement this morning calling for law enforcement officials to be careful when it comes to the protesters. He told them not to fire at them with live rounds, urging restraint in response to the protests that started out peacefully and later became more violent when they were met with a heavy hand from police in the capital Bishkek. But President Jeenbekov is certainly calling for an end to the protests. He said that political factions were trying to seize power in Kyrgyzstan. It's unclear what's going to happen now that there will be new elections held after the Sunday ones. The parliamentary elections were declared invalid, and that follows President Jeenbekov's party and one other relatively aligned party to him coming out victorious essentially in the parliamentary elections. And the protesters say that that is an invalid result, and now we understand that there will be fresh elections in the country. It's unclear when that's going to happen, and it certainly could have serious ramifications for the future of Kyrgyzstan, which is known really as the only democracy in Central Asia. It's had a number of different leaders over the years when neighboring countries have been led by authoritarian rulers for decades. And of course, we've seen previous revolutions in Kyrgyzstan in 2005, in 2010. Both times the circumstances were a little bit different, but there have certainly been a number of very big protests in the country in history, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen yet, but this certainly does appear to be yet another moment, another turning point for Kyrgyzstan.
Julia, thank you so much for joining us and getting us all the latest. As Julia is telling us, Kyrgyzstan may in fact hold polls again after these widespread demonstrations rocked the nation.